Hey viewers, it's January, and you know what that means. It's time for my 2014 year in review. If you're new here, my name's Cara, and this is something that I've been doing every year for the past couple of years, few years. I don't know, there's a playlist. So I'm going to tell you about 2014. And there will be links in the description or on the annotations right on the video to any videos that I mention, which have to do with events that happened throughout 2014. You'll also see pictures, links to blog posts, if anything that I feel might complement this for you will be in the description or on the video. So let's go back to January 2014. My first video posted on this channel of 2014 was about the Pentacles of Pride t-shirt fundraiser, and it was their first fundraiser that I helped them out with, their first fundraiser ever, and I helped them out with it by making that video. Also in January, I made scarves for Homeless StandDown, which is something that my church participates in every year and has to do with Project Hope for the Homeless, which is a Cleveland area initiative. Kesha's Timber was one of my favorite songs to sing along to in the car. I started a cooking photo album on Facebook because I started cooking on my own in the end of 2013, and I moved into my own house and started living on my own in January, so I started cooking for myself and posting pictures, and I was proud. What are you gonna do? I've never been a big cook. Oh yeah, and as I mentioned, I moved into my house, so there's that. And I started taking so many online personality quizzes, I became obsessed with them. I still am. I've taken a lot of them in the past year. In February, my flash drive went crazy and I haven't been able to use it since then, and it had all of my England trip videos on it, so I was really upset that I was never going to be able to get them posted instead of just having them really, really late. But my mom sent me the videos that I had saved on her computer, so I do still have that, but there are several other things on that flash drive that I would like to get back someday. Also in February, I was in the middle of doing a lot of journaling and self-work of many kinds, expounding on and expanding my capacity and ability to love, and what I thought about love, and what it was and what it meant and how it could manifest. I started rehearsals for a show that I was in called The Westing Game. I also interviewed author Lenora Henson about her book series, The Wicked Garden. There it is, The Wicked Garden, Lenora Henson. In March, I was getting more settled into my house. I learned to cut avocado for the first time. I had never cooked with it before and had no idea what to do with it. And I got my first speeding ticket, and hopefully my last. Archetypes were a big thing for me after having read The Wicked Garden in February, and so in March I started concentrating a lot more on my spiritual challenges for the year and doing some archetype work. And I performed The Westing Game for a couple of weekends in March. In April, I did Veda on my YouTube channel again, which stands for Vlog Every Day in April. I did that for the past 2 years, I think. And you guys really like it, and people are always asking me to do it other months of the year, but really it's difficult for me to do it in 1 month. So for now, I'm just going to stick to that if I even do that every year. So because of Veda, there's a vlog from every day in April, so I probably mentioned all these other things that happened, but I'm going to say them anyway. At the end of April, I went to an art show at the Agora, which is a venue in Cleveland. It was a lot of fun, and the vlog from that I think is great. I celebrated Shakespeare's birthday by reading a play with some of my friends. A Shakespeare play, obviously. I went to the zoo with my friend and her kids, and at the Earth Day service at my church, which our Green Sanctuary Committee organizes and then puts on, we sang a Pete Seeger song and dedicated it to his memory. In May, I met S.J. Tucker for the first time. I went to a baseball game with my boyfriend Mark and our good friend Dylan. I read I Am Not Myself These Days at the recommendation of Corey Cool and Tyler Oakley. I talk a little bit about it in the blog posts that I did about all the books that I read throughout 2014, so if you're a reader, you'll definitely want to check that out. My blog was listed in the Pagan blog directory, and I got a little button to put on my blog. I made a review slideshow for the group at my church that I was co-facilitating called Magic Class, because in May was going to be our review meeting, and then we would start a new curriculum. But no one showed up, so that was our last magic class, and it's defunct for the moment. In June, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I cut my grass for the first time ever. I had never done it before. I had never lived on my own. I never had to do it. Mama Rosa, my mother, the Reverend Rose, came to stay with me at my house, came to visit, and she was here for a little over a week, maybe it's 2 weeks. I don't know, time flies when you're having fun. I got a smartphone in June also while my mom was here. I had her go with me and help pick it out, and you know. My mom also came to church with me and met some of my church friends. Also, while my mom was here, my church's interim minister, who is a friend of mine and a friend of my mother's, left the church, and our new minister started. A lot of church-related, mom-related stuff going on in June. I mean, I did work during June, but I feel like it was mostly mom. So in July, after my mom left, I posted a video about how my practice has evolved, because that's something that someone wanted my mom and I to talk about while she was here, but I talk about it in the video. But I think that was a pretty cool, like, midway through the year video to post as far as my spiritual progress goes. On the 4th of July, I had a vegan picnic at one of our local state parks with my boyfriend, Mark, and a good friend of mine, Derek. My boyfriend is not vegan, but Derek and I are, so we arranged some stuff. And we actually made friends with another group of people who were there who offered us some of their food because they had a ton of food and they couldn't eat it all. So Mark definitely took them up on that offer. But our vegan burgers, I think, were great. Thanks, Derek. So we also went on a hike that day since we were at the park. Speaking of Derek and Mark, also in July, we went to see a Shakespeare in the Park play together. It was Romeo and Juliet. At the Great Lakes Medieval Fair, I did not work at the Great Lakes Medieval Fair over the summer, but I did go various times, as often as I could, and there was one day that it was pouring down rain, and my friends Sarah and Annie came to the fair to hang out with me, and we ran around in the rain together and had a fabulous time. And in July is when I posted the first half of the books that I read in 2014 blog. In August, I went to LA for my boyfriend's sister's wedding. It was my first time ever in California. I had a great time. I turned 24 in August, and on my birthday, I called up Derek and asked him if he wanted to go for a hike again, so we did that. And there ended up being an art show at the park. So that's 2 years in a row that I ended up being able to see art on my birthday, and that's fantastic. Near the end of August, I attended Cleveland area Pagan Pride, and that's where I met Kristen Keck, who is author of the Cassie Rivers Adventures series. They're up on my top shelf, so I don't know if you can see them. They're behind the skull candle. But again, check out the blog post. I also met Megan Worms-Bin in August. She's a musician, singer-songwriter, and she was performing at a local Unitarian Universalist church, so I went to see her and hear her talk about her life and her travels and how she found music and how that was brought into her life, and that was a really good experience. I also started reading 2 great spiritual related books in August, The Mist-Filled Path and Dance of the Dissident Daughter, and you can read more about what I thought about those in the blog post. In September, I moved into this apartment with a friend of mine who is also an ex-boyfriend of mine. It's been weird. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this for the rest of the year-long lease. Cross your fingers, guys. I read the Cassie Rivers Adventures series in September. I was challenged to do a gratitude challenge on Facebook, which is where for 5 days we post 3 things that we are grateful for or that brought positivity into our lives that day. And around the same time I had been reading a book called Thanks about gratitude and how it can make you happier. That book was given to me by my friend Derek, and then I gifted it to Sheldon, who is the president of Pentacles of Pride International, but we'll get to that more in a minute. Also near the end of September for Mabon, I went to my first Red Tent ritual meeting with my friend Chesney and her sister. In October, I finally went back to my church, where I hadn't been for 2 months because of travel and then other reasons that kept me away. I then took my trip to Conway, Arkansas for the first ever, the inaugural Conway Pagan Pride Day. And at Samhain, I finally did something that I've always been wanting to do to celebrate Samhain and never really got around to doing. This year I had my first dumb supper, which is a silent dinner in honor of your ancestors, and it was just me and them. I didn't invite any guests. It wasn't a complicated spread. It was very simple, and I really enjoyed it. And I just like being able to say that I finally got around to doing something that I'd always wanted to do and never did, because now I know how simple it can be. In November, I performed in a very short dinner theater play called The Beauty Pageant. I'll put some ridiculous pictures of it right here so you can see all my different costumes, and I made one of them. It's T-shirt recon, and yes, there are tutorials that I still need to post. I got you. I had one of the best Thanksgivings ever in my memory of Thanksgivings with my family. Not only was it great because my boyfriend got to be there, but also just like no one fought. There was no like weird fighting in my family. Like, no one was yelling at each other. Everyone was just having a good time. I'm not sure if it's because I'm now old enough to be one of the people who drinks throughout the event, but it was a really good time. And I wish that every family gathering could be like that. For the Pentacles of Pride fundraiser in November, or that was going on around November, I don't remember when it started, but it ended in December, I did some Etsy items that would benefit the organization, benefit the fundraiser, and I also offered readings to you guys for the first time ever for a limited time. Also in November is when the Ferguson decision was announced, and I remember being at home and watching the live coverage. And my roommate was kind of trying to avoid really hearing more about what was going on, but I was transfixed, and I wanted to make sure that I knew what was going on with the situation. And so I did a lot of reading and I did a lot of watching. And I remember JP Metz, Justine, tweeted something about being really angry at anyone else who was tweeting, blogging, whatever, about anything other than the Ferguson decision. And I was like, well, that's kind of silly. But then as I kept watching it, and then I kept seeing all these tweets from other celebrities and other important people on YouTube and things like that, and just other people in general, about completely unrelated things that just showed that they either had no idea what was going on or were purposely focusing on something else and focusing on themselves, I started to get it. That's not something I'm going to forget anytime soon. And then in December, of course, was the decision about Eric Garner's case, and watching the videos of those protests was just even more heart-wrenching. And I don't really know how to describe it, but I feel like for that time, that's really what should be what we all think about from that time period. Not that we have to focus on the negative aspects of it, but that it was such an important thing and it was all happening kind of right at once that I feel like I had to mention that. But in the interest of moving forward, in December I auditioned for 2 shows around the same time, and it was the first time I had ever auditioned for 2 shows that I knew were happening at the same time, so I wouldn't be able to do both. And I did get a role in one. So I accepted that role first, so I don't know if I would have gotten cast in the other one because I took myself out of the running to do the other one, which was at a theater that I have never worked at before. So I'm looking forward to expanding my resume a little bit. I also joined the Worship Arts Committee at my church, which is the committee that organizes, designs, and then assists with the actual services. So I'm working a lot with that new minister that I mentioned, who I adore. And everybody at church is really excited for me to do some services about my trip to Conway and my work with prejudice against pagans, and also just religious tolerance in general. So I'm really excited to do some more stuff like that. This year for the Project for Awesome, which is always kind of around mid-December, I did a video this year for it, which I had never done before. I did it for Pentacles of Pride International. I bet you didn't see that one coming. So that was fun. And I also did a video on Pagan Perspective about Raymond Buckland's Big Blue Book. Raymond Buckland watched my video, and that was an exciting moment, let me just say. And the way I'm talking about it now is not how I reacted to it then. I was like texting a million people, jumping up and down. It may be undignified, but I was excited. Christmas Eve at my grandma's house, I was goofing around with my brother as usual, and then my boyfriend and I had our own Christmas later on when he was back in town. A really exciting thing in December, I started a new business venture and I became a pure romance consultant. Then New Year's Eve was fantastic. Our friend Dylan was in town for the night before that, so we got to hang out with him, and I got to spend New Year's Eve with my boyfriend, which is always great. And then New Year's Day, Ohio State won, which is a big deal to my boyfriend, so it's a big deal to me. So all throughout 2014, I had been working on spiritual challenges, and as I mentioned, keeping track of all the books that I read. I also kept track of new movies that I watched, new TV shows I watched, plays that I went to see or participated in. So I have some numbers for you. In 2014, I read 44 new books, 8 new plays, reread 2 books, finished 2 books that I had previously left unfinished, and I have 3 books ongoing which I started in 2014 but haven't finished yet, one of which I started reading in April of 2014 and I'm working through it slowly, and the other 2 that I have ongoing I just started in December. I witnessed 9 plays in 2014, that is, I was in them, was involved with them, or just went to see them. I watched 20 new movies, that is movies that I had never seen before, and it's very possible that I have forgotten a lot of those because several of those 20 I had forgotten about and then added to the list at the last minute as I kept remembering. I'm sure there's more. And I watched 3 new TV shows via Netflix. In 2014, I attended 1 baseball game, 2 art shows, and 3 services at churches other than my own. I went to the zoo once, auditioned for 2 shows without ending up being in them, and lived 3 different places. I visited 2 new states, unless the Chicago airport counts, which I don't think it does, and attended 2 weddings and 2 S.J. Tucker concerts. I don't really know how many poems I wrote, and I didn't even want to try to count them, and anyone could count how many videos I posted, so I'll leave that up to you guys to let me know. I'm sure I could find more things to count from 2014, and it really bothers me that a lot of the things that happened in 2014 I already don't remember. And a lot of the things on that list I wouldn't have remembered if I hadn't documented them in one way or another, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, by posting a video, posting a blog, or having written about it in one of my journals. I actually didn't even go through my journals in order to do this video like I sometimes do. So doubtless there are things that I forgot to mention. It makes me really grateful for those little reminders. Let's make more memories in 2015. Thanks for watching. Until next time, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.